The battlefield was burning. Flames crawled across broken metal. Smoke climbed into the sky like dark fingers. The air was heavy with dust, fire, and the sound of distant screams. In the middle of this chaos, one young human soldier ran through the wreckage. His name was Daniel, but no one called him by name here. On this alien world, he was simply the human. To the alien soldiers fighting beside him, he was strange, fragile, and yet brave enough to be on the front lines. Explosions shook the ground again. The sky glowed red from falling fire. Daniel pushed forward, his body trembling, but his mind sharp. He knew one thing: survive long enough to finish the mission. But then he saw her. Not far away, through the smoke and fire, a small alien girl stumbled out of the ruins. She was different from the soldiers. Her clothes were torn, her skin pale with fear, her bright eyes filled with shock. She looked far too young to be here. Her people, the same species fighting beside him, must have left her behind in the panic. Daniel froze for half a heartbeat. He knew the rules. Do not break formation. Do not stop for civilians. But she was standing in the open field, trembling, unable to move. And then he saw it. A second explosion. A chunk of metal shrapnel spinning through the air, sharp, deadly, faster than an arrow. It was heading straight for her. Daniel's body moved before his mind could argue. He dropped his weapon, sprinted forward, and threw himself between the girl and the flying death. The shrapnel tore into him. Pain exploded through his chest like fire. His breath caught in his throat. The force threw him back, but he kept his arms around the girl, shielding her as the blast ripped through the air. For one endless moment, the world slowed. He could hear nothing but the rush of blood in his ears. He could see nothing but her wide, terrified eyes staring back at him. The ground hit his back. The girl was safe in his arms. He felt his strength fading, but he did not let go. Darkness began to close around him. He thought of Earth, the blue sky, the oceans, the warmth of the sun. He thought of home, of family, of the promise he once made to protect the innocent. No matter who they were. Human or alien, it did not matter. A life was a life. His heartbeat slowed. His body felt heavy, too heavy to move. He tried to speak, but no sound came out. The girl whispered something in her alien tongue, tears running down her face, but he could not understand. Then, silence. But silence did not mean the end. Because in that moment, as Daniel's body lay broken on the battlefield, something strange happened. The shrapnel that had pierced his chest glowed faintly. Not with fire, not with heat, but with a light. A strange, unnatural light that seemed alive. The alien girl gasped. Her people's technology had never done this. Their weapons had never reacted this way. She touched his chest, her fingers trembling, and felt the faint pulse of energy radiating from the wound. Daniel's body should have been still. He should have been gone. But the glow spread through him, sinking into his veins like liquid fire. His eyes flickered for a brief second, then closed again. The alien girl screamed for help. Soldiers rushed forward, pulling Daniel's limp body from the ground. The battle raged on around them, but for a few seconds all eyes were on the strange human who had taken the shrapnel for a child of another world. The alien soldiers did not understand. Why would a human do this? Why would anyone throw away their life for someone not of their own kind? Yet the girl clung to him, her hands stained with his blood, refusing to let go. Carried by strong alien arms, Daniel was pulled away from the fire and into the shadows of safety. His breath was shallow, his heartbeat weak. The glow of the strange shrapnel faded, sinking deeper into him, hidden from sight. The battle went on, but Daniel's war had already shifted. He had crossed a line, one of courage, sacrifice, and something far stranger than either human or alien could explain. And as the battlefield burned behind them, the question remained, heavy and unspoken in every mind. What did that explosion do to him? Because Daniel was not gone. Not yet. Something inside him had changed, and when he opened his eyes again, nothing would ever be the same. The first thing Daniel felt was air. Cold, sharp and heavy with a strange scent, like metal mixed with rain. His chest rose suddenly, as if he had been drowning and was pulled back to the surface. His eyes snapped open. But this was not the battlefield. Above him stretched a ceiling that glowed with soft blue light. Strange symbols shimmered along the walls, moving like liquid, shifting in patterns he could not understand. He was lying on a smooth surface, not ground or stone, but something that hummed with energy. His hand reached to his chest. The place where the shrapnel had cut deep, where he thought he had died, was smooth. No blood, no wound, not even a scar, only the faint warmth of something pulsing beneath his skin. Daniel sat up slowly. The air around him vibrated, as if alive. He blinked and saw shadows moving. Figures, tall, slim aliens stood around him, their eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. They wore armor of silver and black, and strange markings across their skin flickered with bioluminescence. They were not smiling. They were staring at him as if he were a weapon left on the table, dangerous and unpredictable. One whispered something in their language. Another stepped back, fear plain on its face. Daniel's throat was dry. He tried to speak, but his voice was rough, broken. Where am I?" The aliens did not answer. Then a familiar face appeared. The small alien girl he had saved. She pushed past the tall guards, her tiny hands glowing faintly as she carried some kind of crystal. She looked at Daniel with wide eyes, filled with both relief and worry. She spoke in her language, fast and urgent. The others hesitated. Finally, one older alien stepped forward, his robes flowing like liquid silver. His voice was deep and calm. "You should be dead," he said in broken human speech. Daniel frowned. His mind raced. "Then why am I not?" The elder did not reply at once. His gaze lowered to Daniel's chest. "The shard you took, it was no ordinary metal. It carried something our people have searched for. Something we lost centuries ago." Daniel touched his chest again. Beneath his skin he could feel it now, a steady thrum like a second heartbeat. "What is it?" he whispered. The elder's eyes narrowed. "Power. Old power. Not meant for human flesh." The girl stepped closer, ignoring the gasps from the guards. She reached for Daniel's arm, her small hand trembling but gentle. "You saved me," she said softly in near-perfect English. Her voice was young, innocent. "You are alive because of it." Daniel stared at her. Alive, but different. He could feel it. His body was not the same. His muscles were stronger, his senses sharper. He could hear the faint humming of the walls, the breathing of every alien in the room. He could even smell the fear rolling off them like smoke. One of the guards suddenly shouted in their tongue. Daniel didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. Fear. Distrust. The alien pointed at him with a shaking hand, his other hand gripping his weapon. The elder raised a hand, silencing him. His eyes never left Daniel. "You saved one of ours," the elder said. "But what rests inside you now could save us all or destroy us." Daniel's mind spun. Save them? Destroy them? He had come here as a soldier, nothing more. But now, somehow, he had become something else. Something he had never asked for. The girl squeezed his hand tighter. Her voice shook, but her words were clear. "You are not just human anymore." Daniel looked around at their fearful eyes, their whispers, the glow beneath his skin. For the first time since the explosion, true dread settled inside him. "What have you done to me?" he asked. The elder's reply was cold and heavy. "We did nothing. The blast chose you." Silence followed. The alien stepped back as if his very presence was dangerous. Only the girl remained close, her trust unshaken. Daniel lowered his head. He had saved her without thinking. Now, because of that choice, his fate had changed forever. He wanted answers. He wanted to go home. But deep inside, he already knew. Home might never be the same again. Because whatever had entered his body, whatever now lived inside him, it was not going to let him remain just a man, and somewhere beyond these glowing walls he could hear it. A distant rumble. War was not finished. The enemy was coming back. Daniel clenched his fists. For the first time, he felt the strange energy move through him, alive and hungry. And with it came the terrifying thought, what if the elder was right? Would he save them or destroy them? Daniel could not sleep. The chamber where they placed him was quiet, but his mind was not. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt the strange pulse inside his chest, like a second heart, steady and alien. It whispered through his body, filling him with strength he did not understand. The alien girl sat across the room, her bright eyes never leaving him. She was small compared to the tall soldiers, her skin marked with faint glowing lines that reminded him of constellations. Her presence was gentle, but her silence heavy with secrets. Finally, Daniel spoke. His voice was low, rough from exhaustion. "You haven't told me your name." The girl tilted her head, then whispered, "Leora." The name was soft, flowing, like music. Daniel repeated it under his breath. "Leora." She nodded. Then her eyes shifted to his chest. "You should not be alive." Daniel gave a dry laugh. "I've heard that twice already. But here I am." Leora leaned closer, lowering her voice so the guards outside would not hear. "You do not understand. The shard you took, it is not only metal, it is something old, something forbidden." Daniel frowned. "Forbidden?" She touched the faint glow under his skin with trembling fingers. "That was no normal weapon. It carried a fragment of the core. My people have searched for it for generations." Her words echoed in his head. The core. He had never heard of it, but the way she spoke made it sound like legend. "What is it?" he asked. Leora looked down as if the truth itself was dangerous. "It is the heart of our world. Long ago it was broken in war. The pieces were lost. Without it, our people are weak. But with it..." She hesitated, her eyes meeting his. "With it, you can do what none of us can." Daniel's chest tightened. "That thing is inside me?" She nodded. "Yes, it chose you." Daniel laughed again, though it was bitter this time. "I didn't choose it." Her expression softened. "You chose me." Silence stretched between them. Daniel remembered the moment. The flying shrapnel. Her terrified eyes, his body moving without thought. He had not saved her because of destiny or prophecy or some alien core. He had saved her because he could not stand by and watch a child die. But now that simple act had made him something else. He shook his head. "If your people wanted this core, why are they afraid of me?" Leora's eyes darkened. "Because no alien has ever carried it, and no human has ever survived it." Her words fell like a stone in his stomach. No one had survived. Then why? Was he different? As if hearing his thoughts, Leora whispered, "There is a story. My grandmother told me. She said one day someone not of our blood would carry the core. Someone who would stand between destruction and hope." Daniel stared at her, disbelief heavy in his eyes. "A prophecy?" She nodded once. "And now they think it is you." He leaned back, rubbing his face with both hands. A soldier, a stranger, a human in a war not his own. And now a prophecy? It felt absurd, and yet the power inside him was real. He could not deny it. Outside, footsteps echoed in the corridor. The guards' voices were sharp, urgent. Daniel could not understand the words, but he recognized the tone. Fear. Leora's gaze sharpened. She moved closer, whispering quickly, "You must be careful. Not everyone wants the prophecy to come true. Some will try to use you. Others will try to kill you." Daniel's body stiffened. He had expected mistrust, but not this. "And what about you?" he asked quietly. "Why are you helping me?" Her eyes softened again. "Because you saved me when you didn't have to. No one in my world would have done the same. Not even for one of their own." Her words hit deeper than he expected. Daniel was used to being a soldier, to orders and rules. Saving her had been instinct, not logic. Yet here, that simple choice meant everything. Before he could answer, the chamber door slid open. 2 armored aliens entered, their weapons glowing faintly. They gestured at him, their faces grim. Daniel looked at Leora. She shook her head, fear flashing in her eyes. "They are taking you to the council." "The council?" Daniel asked. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "They will decide what to do with you." Daniel stood slowly, every muscle tense. The glow in his chest pulsed stronger, as if sensing danger. He clenched his fists, ready if things turned violent. As he was led out, Leora followed close behind, defying the guards' protests. Her small voice reached him through the tension. "Daniel," she said firmly, "remember this. The core did not fall into you by accident. It means something. And if you survive the council, I will tell you the rest of the secret." Her words burned in his mind as the doors closed behind them. He did not know what the council would do. He did not know if he could trust anyone in this place. But one thing was certain. The girl knew more than she had revealed, and whatever her secret was, it could change everything. The council chamber was vast, built of stone and light. Tall pillars reached into shadows, each one marked with glowing runes. The air hummed, alive with power older than memory. Daniel stood in the center, surrounded by watchful eyes. Dozens of alien leaders sat in a circle above him. Their robes shimmered like liquid silver, their eyes sharp, their voices hushed as they debated his fate. Soldiers stood along the walls, hands resting on their weapons, ready in case he became a threat. Daniel's heart pounded, but it was not fear that shook him. It was the strange rhythm in his chest, the pulse of the core fragment inside him. It throbbed with the tension of the room as if it could feel their judgment. One of the elders leaned forward. His voice carried like thunder. "Human, do you know what you carry?" Daniel met his gaze. "Something I didn't ask for." Murmurs swept the chamber. Some frowned, some looked impressed. Another elder, her face stern, spoke sharply. "You carry what even our strongest cannot bear. If it rejects you, it will burn you from the inside. If it accepts you—" She paused, her voice heavy. "You may be more powerful than any of us." Daniel clenched his fists. He had never asked for power. He had asked only for survival. And yet the energy inside him demanded to be felt. The eldest among them raised his staff. "We will test him." The floor shifted beneath Daniel's feet. The smooth stone separated, revealing a glowing circle etched with runes. He was pulled forward by 2 guards, though he did not resist. The circle thrummed, reacting to the presence of the shard within him. "Step inside," the elder commanded. Daniel took a slow breath and stepped into the circle. At once, the runes blazed with light. Energy surged up through his body, burning, tearing, overwhelming his senses. He gasped, his knees buckling, but he did not fall. Instead, the power bent around him. The runes flared brighter, but instead of destroying him, they flowed into his veins like fire, turning to strength. His muscles tightened, his vision sharpened. He could see details in the chamber, tiny cracks in the stone, faint movements of dust that no human eye should see. The crowd gasped, some shouted in disbelief. Daniel's hands glowed faintly, the same light that lived in the shard. He raised one trembling hand and saw sparks of energy flicker between his fingers. The elder's staff struck the ground. Silence fell. "It accepts him." The words rippled like a storm. Half the council looked terrified. The other half stared with awe. One whispered, "He could be the one." Another hissed, "Or he could destroy us all." Daniel's voice cut through the noise. "I didn't come here to be your savior. I came here because I fought in your war. And now, I don't even know what I am." The elder who had spoken first rose. "You are human, but more. You are the core's chosen. If you wish to survive, you must learn control, Without it, the power will consume you. The chamber's floor shifted again and a new figure entered. An alien warrior clad in black armor, taller and broader than any Daniel had seen. His body pulsed faintly with energy, though weaker than Daniel's glow. "This is Core," the elder said. "Our strongest. If you can endure him, you may endure the core itself." Daniel's pulse quickened. A test. Of course. He stepped forward, the glow still crackling under his skin. Core raised his weapon, a staff that burned with blue light. "Show us, human," he growled. The fight began. Core swung with blinding speed, his staff slicing the air. Daniel moved, without thinking, his body faster than before. He dodged, the weapon barely missing him. His reflexes were sharper, his instincts quicker. He countered with a strike, his fist slamming against Core's chest. The force sent the warrior stumbling, back-shocked. The crowd roared in disbelief. Daniel stared at his own hand. The strength had been real. Too real. Core recovered, striking harder this time. Daniel blocked with his forearm. Instead of breaking, his arm glowed, and the staff cracked, splintering under the impact. Gasps filled the chamber. Core dropped the broken weapon, bowing his head in defeat. Daniel stood panting, his fist still glowing faintly, his body humming with power. The elder raised his voice again. "The core accepts him. He is no longer only human." Daniel's chest tightened. No longer only human. The words echoed in, his mind heavy with both promise and curse. The crowd broke into arguments, some demanding he be destroyed before the power corrupted him, others insisting he be trained as their weapon of salvation. But through the noise, Daniel heard a smaller voice, Leora. She had slipped into the chamber, her eyes locked on him. She whispered just loud enough for him to hear. "You see now. The power is yours. But you must decide what it means." Her words struck him harder than Core's blows. Power meant nothing without choice. Daniel lowered his glowing hands, his voice steady. "I didn't ask for this. But if I'm going to carry it, then I'll use it my way." The chamber fell silent again. The elders exchanged glances. The prophecy whispered through their minds. And Daniel, standing alone in the circle of light, felt the core's thrum inside him, alive, waiting, watching. The question was no longer whether he could survive the power. The question was what kind of man he would become with it. The chamber still echoed with the whispers of the council when the warning bells rang. The sound was sharp, metallic, and endless, an alarm that shook the very walls. The elders froze, their debates silenced. Soldiers rushed to the exits, their weapons glowing, their voices urgent. Daniel's pulse quickened. He had heard alarms before, on Earth and on alien battlefields, but this one carried a weight that pressed on every heart. Leora's face turned pale. She ran toward him, her voice trembling. "They are here." "Who?" Daniel asked. She met, his eyes fear shining in them. "The ones who sent the blast, the ones who want the core." The council chamber opened to the sky above, and Daniel saw it. Dark shapes breaking through the clouds. Enemy ships, massive and sleek, descending, like predators. Their hulls glowed with crimson light, their weapons already charging. The alien soldiers scrambled to prepare defenses. Energy shields rose over the city, shimmering domes of light. Cannons turned upward, spitting fire into the sky. The air filled with the sound of war. Daniel clenched his fists. The core inside him pulsed stronger, as if it recognized the danger. The eldest elder gripped his staff, his face grim. "They come for him," he said, pointing at Daniel. "The human carries what they seek." Daniel's chest tightened. He had not asked for this fight, but now the enemy wanted him. Not the city, not the council. Him. Leora grabbed his arm. "You must not let them take you. If they capture the core, they will destroy everything. My people, your people, all will fall." Before Daniel could answer, the first blast struck. The sky lit up as enemy fire slammed into the shields. The city shook, towers cracked, debris rained down. The dome flickered but held, barely. The council chamber trembled. Guards rushed in, shouting for evacuation. The elders argued in panic, half demanding Daniel be hidden, others demanding he be sent away. Daniel's voice cut through their fear. "No, I won't run." The words surprised even him. But deep down he knew they were true. Running would not stop this. If the enemy wanted the core, they would never stop chasing him. The only choice was to fight. The elder in silver robes glared. "You think your strength can hold back an army?" Daniel's chest glowed faintly. He felt the energy rise, hot and steady. "I don't know, but I'll try." Another blast struck harder. The shield cracked, a spider web of light splintering across the sky. The soldiers shouted, fear rising. But Daniel stepped forward, his body humming with power. The memory of the fight with Kor still burned in his muscles. If he could survive that, maybe he could survive this. The council finally gave the order. "Send him to the front. If the prophecy is real, let it prove itself now." And so Daniel was led through the chaos of the city. The streets burned, families hid in the ruins. Alien fighters raced to the walls, their armor glowing. The sky above was fire and smoke. Daniel felt out of place, one man among thousands, but the core inside him burned brighter, louder. He could almost hear it whispering, "You are not only human anymore." At the city gates, the enemy landed. Dark figures emerged from their ships. Tall, armored invaders with weapons that hummed with deadly light. Their eyes glowed crimson. Their voices carried across the battlefield, a single demand in their harsh tongue. "Give us the core." The alien soldiers raised their weapons. The city answered with fire. The battle began. Daniel charged into it without hesitation. Energy coursed through him, making him faster than the others, stronger than the others. He dodged beams of light, his movements almost instinctive. His fists struck with power that shattered enemy armor. The invaders were skilled, ruthless. But when Daniel fought, they faltered. They had expected a weapon they could control, not a man who fought with heart and fury. Leora followed close behind, using her strange crystal to shield him when enemy fire came too close. She was terrified, yet she never left his side. The battle raged, louder, brighter. The city walls shook. The shields above flickered and broke, leaving the sky open to fire. And yet, Daniel kept moving. He fought like no human ever had. Every strike, every step, carried the weight of both worlds, his own and Leora's. But the enemy was endless. For every soldier he struck down, two more came. Their commander, a towering figure in black armor, stepped forward at last. His weapon burned with crimson fire. He pointed directly at Daniel. "The core belongs to us, and the human will fall." Daniel stood panting, his body glowing, his fists clenched. He felt the core pulse harder, almost alive, as if urging him forward. He glanced at Leora, who stared back with fear and hope. Then he faced the commander, his voice steady despite the chaos. "You want the core?" His glow flared brighter. "Then come and take it." The battlefield froze for one heartbeat, both armies watching, and then with a roar that shook the air, the commander charged. The city still smoldered from the battle. Fires glowed in broken towers. Smoke drifted like ghosts through the streets. The enemy commander had fallen back, retreating with his forces, but everyone knew it was not victory. It was only a pause, a warning of what was coming. Daniel stood, on the wall, his body aching, his hands still faintly glowing from the core's power. He had fought like no human ever had, but the fight had cost him. His chest burned, his vision blurred at the edges. The core inside him pulsed too strong, too alive, as if it hungered for more. Below, the people looked at him with mixed eyes. Some cheered him as a hero. Others whispered in fear. Leora came to his side, her crystal light guiding her steps. "You saved them," she said softly. Daniel shook his head. "For now. They'll be back. stronger. And deep inside, he knew the truth. The enemy would never stop until the core was theirs. That night the council gathered again. The chamber was darker now, lit only by the runes on the walls. The elders' voices were sharp, filled with conflict. "He saved us," one shouted. "He turned the tide." "He is dangerous," another hissed. "The core grows stronger in him every hour. If he loses control, he will destroy us all." Daniel stood silent, their words cutting through him. He had bled for them, fought for them, but still they doubted. The eldest elder finally raised his staff. "He will remain under guard until we know his true purpose." Daniel clenched his fists, guarded, watched, like a prisoner. As he left the chamber, Leora walked with him whispering, "They are afraid, but I believe you." Her words steadied him, but they did not silence the unease growing in his chest. Later that night, shadows moved through the city. Not enemy shadows, but those of the aliens themselves. Hooded figures slipped between alleys carrying whispers and blades. They gathered in secret beneath the ruins of a temple, their leader's voice cold and sharp. "The council hesitates, but we will not. The core cannot remain in human hands. He is not chosen, he is cursed. If we hand him to the enemy, they will spare us." A chorus of murmurs agreed. The betrayers, a hidden faction born of fear and desperation. They did not see Daniel as savior, they saw him as doom. The next day, Daniel felt eyes on him wherever he went. Soldiers watched too closely. Strangers turned away. He tried to ignore it, but his instincts sharpened by the core screamed danger. That night it came. The attack was silent. The door to his chamber slid open without a sound. Figures in dark cloaks rushed in, blades glowing faintly. Daniel woke with the core burning hot inside him. His body moved before thought, dodging the first strike, catching the second blade in his glowing hand. Sparks burst. The attackers hissed, striking again. He fought them in silence, fists cracking against armor, power flashing in bursts of light. But there were too many. One blade sliced across his arm, burning with venom. He stumbled, pain flaring. Another attacker raised his weapon for the final blow. And then the room blazed with crystal light. Leora. She burst inside, her crystal shield flaring like a star. The attackers screamed, blinded by the glow. Daniel seized the chance, striking hard, sending two crashing into the wall. The rest fled into the shadows, vanishing as quickly as they came. Breathing hard, Daniel leaned against the wall. His arm bled, his chest still pulsed with wild energy. Leora rushed to him, fear in her eyes. "They tried to kill you. Your own people." Daniel shook his head, bitter. "Not mine. Yours." Her face fell, shame heavy on her small shoulders. "They don't understand. They think fear will save them." Daniel's voice was hard. "Fear won't save anyone." The next day, the council tried to deny the attack. "Rogue deserters," they called them, "not our will." But Daniel saw the truth in their eyes. Doubt, division, betrayal festering in the cracks. The people were split, half looking to him as hope, half whispering that his death would buy them peace. Leora stayed close, whispering the words that kept him steady. "You saved me. You saved them. That means something." But Daniel's heart grew heavier. If the enemy outside wanted the core, and the people inside wanted him gone, then who was left to stand with him? That night, as he looked out over the burning horizon, the core inside him pulsed louder than ever. Not just power, not just strength, but something else. Something waiting. He clenched his fists, whispering to himself, "If I can't trust them, and I'll have to trust myself." And far away in the darkness beyond the city, the enemy prepared again. Their commander stood tall, his crimson armor glowing, his voice a promise of fire. The human cannot save them. He will be their end, and when the time comes, the core will be mine. The city lay in silence before the storm. Ash drifted across broken streets. Towers leaned like wounded giants. Fires smoldered in the distance. Everyone knew the enemy would return, stronger than before. And when they did, there would be no hiding. Daniel stood on the highest wall, looking out into the black horizon. The core inside him pulsed like thunder in his chest. Every beat carried power, too much power. It frightened him, but it also reminded him why he had survived. Not to run, but to fight. Behind him the people gathered, soldiers in silver armor, children clutching their mothers, elders whispering prayers. Their eyes turned to him, some with trust, some with fear. All waiting. Leora climbed the wall beside him. She was small, but her voice carried strength. "They're coming," she said simply. Daniel nodded. He could already feel it. Vibrations in the earth, shadows moving in the sky. The enemy fleet, pierced through the clouds, crimson light burning across the heavens. The commander was with them. His massive warship led the assault, its weapons glowing brighter than any before. His voice boomed across the battlefield, carried by alien technology. "Give us the core, and we will spare no one. Resist, and all will burn." The people trembled. Even the soldiers lowered their weapons, doubt creeping in. Daniel stepped forward, his voice cutting through the fear. "They won't stop if you give them the core. They'll take it, and take everything else. You want peace? Then stand and fight for it." His words rippled through the crowd. Hesitation lingered, but Leora raised her crystal high. Its light spread across the wall like dawn breaking. "He saved me. He saved you. And now we save ourselves." The people roared, courage sparked by her voice. Weapons lifted, shields locked. For the first time they stood not in fear, but in defiance. The enemy struck. The sky exploded with fire as ships rained beams of crimson light. The city shields flickered and broke. The ground shook as enemy troops stormed through the gates. The final stand had begun. Daniel charged into the heart of the battle. The core flared within him, pouring strength into his body. He moved faster than thought, striking down armored invaders with glowing fists. Energy burst from his hands, shattering, weapons sending shockwaves through enemy lines. But the power cut both ways. Every blast burned through his veins, tearing at his body. Pain lanced across his chest, but he forced it down. If he fell, they all would fall. Beside him, Leora fought with fearless light. Her crystal-shielded soldiers, her voice calling courage where there was none. Together they carved a path through the chaos. And then the commander came. Clad in black armor, taller than any soldier, his blade burned with crimson fire, his eyes locked on Daniel with pure hatred. "The core is mine," he roared, his voice shaking the battlefield. Daniel stepped forward, chest glowing brighter. "You'll have to tear it out of me." Their clash shook the city. The commander's blades struck like lightning, each blow heavy enough to crush stone. Daniel met him strike for strike, his fists glowing with the core's fury. Sparks and fire lit the sky as they battled, neither giving ground. The enemy pressed harder. Daniel staggered, his strength faltering. The core inside him screamed, its power flooding his body beyond control. His vision blurred, his skin burned, but he held on. The commander's blade pierced his shoulder, blood spraying. Daniel fell to one knee. The enemy roared in triumph. "You are nothing but flesh. The core belongs to us." But then, through the haze of pain, Daniel heard her voice. Leora. She stood on the wall, her crystal blazing like a star. Her small voice carried across the battlefield. "You are more than flesh. You are the man who chose to save when no one else would." Her words cut through the fire in his veins. Daniel rose. The core inside him flared, not wild, not uncontrolled, but steady. For the first time, he was not its prisoner. He was its master. He caught the commander's blade in his glowing hand. The fire sputtered, dying against his grip. Shock filled the enemy's eyes. Daniel's voice was calm, steady, human. "I am not your weapon. I am not your curse. I am just a man, And then he struck. The core's energy erupted, a blinding wave that shattered the commander's armor and hurled him across the battlefield. The ground split, fire roared, and when the light faded, the commander lay broken, his blade shattered, his voice silenced. The enemy froze. Their leader was down. Fear spread through their ranks. And then, like a tide breaking, they fled. Ships, pulling back into the clouds, soldiers scattering into the night. The city stood victorious. Daniel collapsed to his knees, the glow fading, his breath ragged. The core inside him went quiet at last, no longer burning, no longer wild. The people cheered. Soldiers raised their weapons in triumph. Leora rushed to his side, her small hand steadying him. "You did it," she whispered. Daniel shook his head, a faint smile on his lips. "No, we did it." He looked out at the people, at the world he had saved, and whispered one last truth. "I was just a man, but sometimes that is enough." The city's bells rang, not for alarm this time, but for hope. And under the broken sky, Daniel knew his fight was not only for survival anymore, it was for something greater, something human.